Morning, Bitcoiners. I hope you're doing well. I'm loving my life. Who could complain? Who could complain? It's getting funnier and funnier out there. We're having a great time. We are having a great time. There we go. We're working faster today. Working faster. Already people in the door. I don't know what was up yesterday. I do believe, maybe we won't see such consistency out of Rumble going forward simply because they're getting attacked. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have a plan B, plan B. Let's see what's up with these people. Still nothing on YouTube. That always takes forever. Always, always, always. But people are coming in. People are coming in. But still no idea what's happening. There we go. It's actually working. Gotta make sure. Good morning, Christine. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. I thought that was a fuzz for a second. Thought that was something there. Well, YouTube's happening, so that's good news. That is good news. There we go. I'm here, so let's start. And I got Tommy. I got a beautiful t-shirt on today. I love these t-shirts. The collars are great. Everything about them. Good quality cotton, everything. Oh, I should have put Tommy. Tommy is the designer of these beautiful t-shirts. Double B. Hope you're doing well, Double B. Hope you're doing well, Double B. Hey, yo, CB, Lucky. Good afternoon. Finally catching live after a long time. Well, we're glad you're here. We're glad you're here. People are getting back to their normal schedules, right? This is, divorce and breakups and all that stuff are huge in the months of June and September, simply because it's a schedule change time. People are new routines, new everything, right? Back to the old routine, back to the whatever. So whatever's going on in your life, I bet it's a new routine. I'm not predicting divorce. I'm just saying it's routine time, right? Good morning. Catch you at the meetup. Indeed. Oh, yeah. For folks who are in the Montreal, Quebec, Northern New York, Vermont area, Montreal's Bitcoin meetup is tonight, and I'll be chatting there at 5:30 at Pub Saint Paul on Rue Saint Paul, near the Dairy Queen and Belle Province. That's there. I sent you mail to send you a shirt, but never. Oh, P-Man, pardon me. I owe you an answer then, P-Man. I must have missed that. Pardon me, P-Man. I did listen to the album. Good stuff. But I did not see the note about the t-shirt. I will, P-Man, and I'm happy about that. Indeed, this cup was from a breakup viewer, and it actually got stolen from my building's mail, wherever they put it. And luckily, it was a great story. So it was stolen. And then the cleaning person of the local subway station, right, just the local metro, emailed me and found me. And he said, well, it was put into like a power tool, like a handsaw or something, into the box. So the person who stole it thought they were getting a box of stuff. And when they opened it, it was just a stupid Bitcoin cup. And so they threw it away in disgust. But the janitor from the subway station near me saw it and looked me up and found out that I lived nearby enough. Well, I guess the address. But wrote to me on the Breakups website page and said, hey, this looks cool. Just tell me why. What's going on? Like, what is Bitcoin and all that stuff? So I hung out with him. He learned a lot and we had a good time. And just a great, honest gesture. You like to see that stuff. I love Quebec for that kind of stuff, right? Jason says, good morning, Breakup Gang. Enjoy your time at the Bitcoin meetup Montreal at Saint Paul. I will, Jason. I will. It was hard to get in the chat this morning. Yeah, there's some weird stuff going on. Honestly, really weird. Usually at work, but today working from home. Great for you, lucky. DTV hodl. Hola, Nolan. F fiat. Indeed, indeed. There's the secret message on this cup, you know? I got to drink it this way so you can all see it. I got to drink it this way. Bitcoin cups, you know? Gotta love them. Gotta love them. Lance says Russia, Russia, Russia. It's our favorite subject. Russia, Russia, Russia. It's all Russia today. We're going to talk about Russia. Russian to conclusions. The sun is up in cold September. Muslim Bitcoiner. BTC is crowd. You're ruining my lines. Indeed. The sun is up. We got a sunrise. What is going on here? How did I do that? I have a few of these that were off today. I got to fix my autism here. How that happened. We're back. 8 lines like that, you know? There we go. It was a beautiful sunrise. I got to have a good look at it. It's coming up later and later and further along the horizon, but it's going great. Jason, hopefully my Apple mouse is full. I only got it to 85%. I gave up after I needed it. So it should be good for a month or something. Isn't it ridiculous, Jason? Isn't it absolutely disgusting that this engineering stuff exists at a company known for its engineering? Something's got to give. Something's got to give. I mean, his wife is out there peddling Atlantic propaganda. We need a second coming of Steve Jobs at any moment now because it's not good. It's not good without him. We need the computers back. We need the good stuff, right? So indeed, the sun came up. Bitcoin, it's running. We're doing great, guys. Let's have a coffee. Let's get started with the weather report on Moscow time. What's going on with the weather? What's happening? It's a great one today. Today, you know, contrary to some people's belief, it's starting to get cooler. So we're probably not going to get as many it's hot articles, right? It's hot. I'm just making a bold prediction. It's hot now is going to go down a lot in the next couple of weeks. We're going to have less. I couldn't find many today, but it is still hot somewhere, right? So there's still a few going for our Moscow time. And this one is really great. Okay. So you're not going to believe this, guys. They've got a 27-degree heat warning in London, but don't worry. They're not leaving you just abandoned. Okay. They're not leaving the people of London to fend for themselves with this temperature because it's not climate justice if they're having to fend for this themselves, right? There's all kinds of people in London that are poor, right? That are not Christian, right? That have sex in weird ways and different ways that we all have to accept it, right? So there's all kinds of things going on in London. So those people need help. If it was just a bunch of white people, I'd be like, deal with it, right? But it's not exactly that, especially a lot of C-normative white people. I'd say, you just deal with the 27 degrees, okay? Okay, but no. Things are changing, guys. It's time to embrace the change because in London, the UK heat wave means that households, right, they're going to help them. They've been told to close the curtains and blinds this Thursday and Friday for key reasons. For key reasons, guys. The key reasons are climate change, right? The blazing sunshine, right, breaks the cloud after the rainy week. So it's really important, everyone, that you close your blinds and your curtains. The Mirror in London, if you're not in London, you can do it anyway. I did it. It works. Look, I got my blinds closed. I'm protected from the global warming today because I got the blinds. Okay, so the heat wave, I think it might even be close to 27. If you don't know what 27 is, and because you're an American and you're kind of dumb, right? You don't know about 27 and 28, you know, the 1 degree and it changes stuff, right? If you don't know about that thing and you only use the dumb Fahrenheit stuff, right? That's like almost 80, guys. That's on the border of 80 degrees. So if it's 80 degrees where you are, let me tell you something. You can do this too, right? You can close your blinds. It's going to be almost 80 today here in Montreal. I got to get these blinds closed. I got to keep them closed all day. I use this one for the light, but I'm risking stuff here, right? I'm risking. I got a blind down, right? So there you go. But this is just because, you know, it's the hazards of work. Like in the olden days, people used to go to the coal mines. Now I leave my blind open on the side. That's not directly in the sun, but it's brave. Okay. It's brave. You can call me brave. After this, I'm going to go and talk to my kids about the brave thing I did, right? I actually did the show with the blinds up. But I'm glad for key reasons that they're out there helping all of us. It's really important. I appreciate the Mirror. They're doing a great job. And who could complain with advice like that? Because 27 degrees, I mean, it's going to start getting like that more and more, 27 degrees, stuff like that. So now we know it's hot in London, right? It's hot in London. It's still hot in Phoenix. It's hot in California, right? It's hot all there, but even north of California, look at this. It's hot. It's getting hot again. This is Lake Oswego in Portland, Oregon. It's hot all the way up to Portland, Oregon. Good thing it's a lake, right? Here's what you need to know about staying cool in Lake Oswego. One of their advices is go swimming. Go swimming, you know? Like, you're there. I'm like, it's hot. What do I do? And then you read the newspaper and it's like, go swimming. Holy Moses. It's the answer I was looking for. So you can go swimming in Lake Oswego. That's great. But now there's a problem. If you're in this excessive heat warning thing in LA, right? Want to beat the heat to the beach, they say, don't go in the water at these beaches. Don't go in that water, right? Officials warn, don't go there. There's other water. It's got E. coli. It's got all kinds of stuff. So if you got the heat, if you're in England, close the blinds, right? If you're in Lake Oswego, go swimming. But if you're in LA, don't go swimming. Okay, don't. It's got poo and other things in the ocean. Too many people. It's disgusting. Don't do it, right? It's not going to work out. It's not good for you. Now, the other good news in the weather is, even though they say the danger of hot oceans, right? Because our ocean is getting hotter, right? The oceans are getting hotter. Not the poo ones. It's not because of the poo. The poo ocean in LA, it's a different heat. It's not the same. This is the Atlantic one. Atlantic's tame turn lowers forecast for storms this season. Weather Watch. That's great news. There's fewer hurricanes. See? I mean, everyone closed their blinds. I heard there was farmers this summer that are really worried about the global warming, and it's people like Greta, and they're going around and they're actually like huffing cow farts, and they're putting them in their mouth so that after they don't expel the carbon dioxide, they bring it in and they digest it in their own bodies. So you go right on the butt and you go like that and you're fine. Okay, so it's working. So at least enough people did it that we have fewer hurricanes this year. So we're doing great. We're doing really great. The hailstorm thing is still a problem, though. I don't know how to solve this one. No one has brought an answer. This is the second time they've mentioned it. Here is September 2nd. They talked about it in the summer. But now we know that hailstones may be getting bigger as the climate warms. More warm equals bigger ice from the sky hitting you. All right? So if it gets hotter, so in Phoenix, I'd be really worried because they got the climate change, right? They're not prepared for ice chunks falling out of the sky. They're not even close to prepared for that. So I don't know what they're going to do over there, but you got to be careful, right? We got bigger stones and all that kind of stuff. It's really, really, really a thing. And that's why, just imagine you got massive hail falling out of the sky, right? It's basically like rockets. It's like war. It's projectiles flying out of the sky, right? What do you do about that, right? Just like they say, ramping down global emissions is achievable in terms of cost. We can pay for it, right? But until the U.S. and other rich countries assume a war footing, we don't stand a chance. You got to do a war footing. Hail falling from the skies, all kinds of stuff, right? Well, here's the war footing, right? I'm not going to leave you like just half opinions, half plans, complaining about the war footing that's not there. The war footing is already being enacted. Listen to this, guys. They're filming movies in England with the blinds closed. I hope the blinds are closed in England because it's 27 degrees, almost 80, and they're filming stuff there. But look what they're doing. You're not going to believe it. Virgin River is replacing diesel generators with batteries. They're using batteries on set to make TV shows. So now you say, where do they charge the batteries? Come on, it doesn't matter. It's still a battery, okay? It's still a battery. And I'm sure they go to all the power stations and say, are you a diesel generating power station? I can't charge my battery there. So they go to like the wind and they get the batteries charged, and then they bring those batteries. They put how the construction guys, right? They have the batteries, they put in the drill. They put that battery right in their camera, and they don't have to plug in on set. Okay? Do you know what that's doing for the world? It's a war footing, everyone. Movies and shows are using solar-powered trailers. Trailers that are solar powered. So when the TV stars and the acting stars go in their trailer, they're not charging their phones on diesel generators. They're using their solar panels. When they say war footing, right? You know me. I'm not going to leave you guys hanging. I'm not going to leave you guys with no answers. War footing is here. This is what it means, folks. All right. Stop charging your devices. Use batteries. Stop using electricity. I mean, don't use it in your house. Don't plug it in. Now, the wire is the worst part. Okay. That makes emissions. They come out of the, that's why they put those little plastic things on the, on the outlets, right? You put that in the outlet. It's because emissions could be coming out. You don't want emissions coming out, right? So you don't want the emissions coming out, and it's really dangerous. And I'm so happy that all of these actors, right? Netflix wants to shrink your favorite TV show's carbon footprint. They're doing it for you, You get to watch TV after that and not worry. You don't. I know I can barely watch TV now because I'm like, I said it's because of the production, watching the production, and then I know there's a camera and all that stuff. Really, the answer is I'm watching the show and I'm just doing like carbon accounting. I'm like, they burn that much stuff. They burn that much stuff. There's that many emissions. They laughed. Do you know how bad comedies are for the environment? Do you know how bad a comedy is for the environment? Think about it. Just think about it. You think cow farts are bad? You go to like a Shane Gillis show or something like that. Everyone's laughing, ha, 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 and it's going everywhere. I mean, really, we need to realize with the war footing, it's no laughing matter. All right, it's no laughing matter. Keep the laughs down. If you keep the laughs down, we're going to have less emissions. It's going to get cooler perfectly, and the hail will shrink, and it will be great. All right, it will be so good. Now, I've said all these things, the things we have to do, the things that are so important. You know why we have to do it? Do you know why it's imperative? It's not just the burning in a supercharged, heated planet with hailstorms raining down on us, breaking our skulls with ice blocks. It's not just that, okay? It's not just that. It's the following, all right? It's poor people. Poor people and unhealthy people can't deal with climate change. Scientists are letting us know. Extreme heat worsens chronic health conditions of millions of Americans, right? I hear this phony RFK on TV all the time talking about chronic illness in America. What the fuck does that guy know? What does he know? Is he even talking about this? Is he even talking about how climate change makes extreme heat in particular makes chronic illness worse? I mean, come on. And he's laughing it up, right? Emitting emissions from his mouth every time he's laughing it up. The best thing RFK has going for him is his voice thing. He should shut up and stop talking. Hot air is coming out of his mouth all the time, right? He's contributing. He's a net contributor to global warming. I know it, right? And the Guardian even coming in there. Poor people bear the brunt of extreme heat in Europe. The poor people are bearing the brunt. They're bearing the brunt of the extreme heat, right? So they're bearing it, right? Say Spanish researchers, the Spanish know about the heat, right? The Spanish know all about the heat. Don't try and tell them. Now, I was telling you how bad it is in the desert, right? The desert, Phoenix, 100 days of 100 degrees. It was like the biggest news yesterday. Everyone talking about Phoenix, right? Want to know how bad it gets? It's not even that. It's worse. Climate in crisis, according to NBC News. Even desert plants known for their resilience are burning and dying in the heat. All right, even the plants, agave, dying, heat tolerant, drought resistant, they're suffering as climate change makes heat waves more frequent and intense. So, guys, I mean, you like tequila, kiss it goodbye. You're not going to get it. The cacti, they're done. The cacti finished, okay? They're burning. The plants are burning in the heat. It's not going to go. Now, I've given you a lot of doomsday scenarios here today, right? A lot of doomsday stuff. The heat, the poor people. What are we going to do? What if you don't have curtains? What if you're in London today and it's 27 degrees and you don't have curtains? It's 80 degrees. 27 is 80 degrees in London. What are you going to do if you don't have curtains, right? So there's a lot of stuff going on. But we're at a point now. This is a tipping point. You hear about that all the time in the environmental sciences. Tipping point. We're always at a tipping point. Today is a tip. It's been the tipping point for 40 years. What's going to make it tip over? What's going to be the final straw? What's going to be the straw that broke the camel's back? What's it going to be? I found it. It happened today. Rejoice. Rejoice, Bitcoiners that watch the breakup. Rejoice, because finally the tipping point is here. You're not going to believe the tragedy. The 2-day or less shipping Americans have come to expect faces a climate change threat. Shipping, the mail, we heard about bridges yesterday. That wasn't enough. That wasn't a bridge too far. Okay, we heard about bridges falling. The New York Times yesterday let us know that bridges were falling because of the heat, right? I believe it. I believe it. But that wasn't the thing that is going to actually wake up all of these sleeping Americans. This is what's going to do it. The mail, okay? The mail, if it's really hot, if it's like London and just think about it like this, right? I'm going to explain what's going on here. All right? So 2-day shipping and the heat. So what happens is, just picture this, right? You're a poor, chronically ill shipping delivery person for the U.S. Postal Service, right? Just think about this, okay? And imagine it's 80 degrees. You're in St. Louis, Missouri. It's 80 degrees. And you don't have curtains. You can't be expected to deliver things in 2 days. You're not going to be able to go to work. You had a day without a curtain, right? So you have no curtains in your house. It's 80 degrees. You're practically dead. You're practically dead. Who could go to work in that weather? Who could do that? You don't have curtains in your car, right? And then you say, oh, put the air conditioning on. Why don't you just kill yourself before you go in the car? Put the air conditioning on. What are you talking about? What are you even talking about, right? Those air conditioners are run off gas generators in the car because the car generates electricity for the battery. So it's still a gas generator. Unless you have a hybrid or an electric vehicle, I say you're not allowed to just put the air conditioner on in your car, right? And so, and if you're delivering, I know they do, that the U.S. Postal Service has some electric cars now. So maybe those guys can help, but it's not enough of a fleet. It's not enough of a fleet to guarantee 2-day shipping. So 2-day shipping, guys, because of global warming, is over. But we're not going to stand for it. This is the day we fight back against the climate change deniers, against the climate change reality. Today is the day we embrace science and we get our 2-day shipping back, because it's not, we can't do it this way. It's just not going to work, right? All right, so that's what we got for the weather today. It's bleak out there. But the good news is, I think the 2-day shipping thing is the end. Okay, so it's going to get better. All right, so now let's go to some election 2024 stuff. What's going on? How's Kamala doing in the election, right? We like to cover the news, then we go straight into the election. Well, how's Kamala doing? Well, it turns out she's ready to lead our military. That's perfect. I was wondering, right? She has no experience. And I said, what's going to happen if she's in a conflict? And is she going to be able to handle herself? What's she going to do? But now I'm told by The Hill, by a very credible source, that she's ready. So I was worried for a little while. And then I said, okay. That's fine, right? It's going to be all right. But this is the best part, right? So she's doing great with the military, right? She's doing great with the military. But I saw courts yesterday, and you're not, sometimes I worry about humans being too selfish and not doing the right thing. Like those who have don't share, and those who could do more don't do more, right? Well, you're not going to believe this story, guys. You know, this is going to make you feel way more optimistic about the world. This is going to make you feel way more optimistic about Kamala, okay? So not only do we know if she's ready for handling the military, all right? Guess what Goldman Sachs did for us? No, hold on, guys. Right? Guess what Goldman Sachs did for you? Not just us, for you, right? So a Kamala Harris win and a Democratic sweep, right? So if they get everything, right? Right? It would give the biggest boost to the economy, Goldman Sachs says. Now, right now, I'm sitting there saying, how does Goldman Sachs have the time to help out all of us little people? Right? They're out there making money. They got all their analysts doing all this important money-making stuff, right? They're trading Ethereum ETF and the Bitcoin ETF, and they're so busy over there, right? But you know what? This is what really is making me feel better about humanity. Goldman said, you know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do? You know what old Larry Fink said? Larry went, hey, let's look into what's better for everybody. Let's look at what's better for America. Let's get our best analysts, and they're going to look at the platforms of each candidate, right? And they're going to determine what's best for all of us. And they did that. Who would have thought we live in a world where a thing like Goldman Sachs, and it's not even Larry Fink, I forget who's in charge of Goldman Sachs. That was the other one, the other thing, BlackRock. So Goldman Sachs, right? They go out and they put their best people. I know they put their best people on this. It's for sure. It's for sure. I mean, it's so important, right? So they put their best people on it. And what do they come up with? Give it all to the Democrats, and it's going to be better. It's going to be better for you. So imagine they're out there, right? Goldman Sachs making all this money, doing all this stuff, right? And some people out there calling them selfish, right? You're selfish. No, they're not. No. This is totally credible. They sent their best people, and their best people went, what's best for America and for the average American? And there you have it. It's business news. Quartz published it. We get this from Goldman Sachs, right? Harris winning and the whole Democrat sweep is the best thing for the economy. I mean, you know, like I said, doomers out there. We have doomers. Imagine having doomers out there when one of the biggest private banks in the world is actually donating the time of their analysts, of their talent, and they're making recommendations that will help you. I mean, come on, guys. Come on, right? Don't be a doomer. It's amazing. It's Goldman says it. Count me in. I mean, obviously, Crypto Joe. I mean, who would be suspicious of this? It's so credible. Incredible, right? It's so incredible. It's just great, right? So it's, yeah, I know, Crypto Truth. You're sleeping better tonight. I know. Me too. Like I said, you know, sometimes I have a habit of being like, what are we going to do? I'm so worried about stuff, right? And then I'm like, wow, Goldman Sachs is out there donating its time and energy to help me make a decision about what's best for me in America, right? So it's great. It's really great. It's just awesome. So the next one we have here is Washington Post giving us some advice about stress about the election. Here's our distraction-heavy survival guide, right? So, you know, there's a lot of people out there saying this election is so important. It's the most important one ever, right? Yeah. But chill out a bit, right? We've got 2 months to go. If you're feeling jittery, right? Tap out. You don't have to pay too much attention to this, okay? A distraction-heavy survival guide. It's for your mental health. The Washington Post, just like Goldman Sachs, is worried about your pocketbook and what's best for the American economy. The Washington Post is very worried about your mental health. Very. And I'm just so thankful they're around. All these people are looking out for us, guys. I mean, really, you know, it's enough to make you proud. Now, you know, you can be worried about the election stuff and all that, but there's even better news. It's not just that they say tap out and don't pay attention. The New York Times is now going to be issuing a daily, right, resume of what happened on late night TV, what happened with the late night comedians. So now I'm no comedian, okay? I'm not a comedian, but I'm going to try, just because it's so important that we take our mind off the elections a little. I'm going to try and deliver. They have all their jokes cataloged now in the New York Times, all of them from last night, right? Jimmy Kimmel, this is a new thing, right? It's called Welcome to Late Night, right? Welcome to the best of late night, right here, right here. Right? A rundown of the previous night's highlights that lets you sleep. Oh, okay, I get it. And lets us get paid to watch comedy. Oh, because they're paying these people. Okay, I get it now. So you don't have to watch this, but they're going to repeat the jokes. Now, I want to make sure you guys hear some of these jokes. So I'm not actually going to be delivering them with as much comedic timing as they do. So you're just going to have to imagine that I'm really good at this. But I just want to repeat them to you because they're so great, right? It's really great. It's really, really funny stuff. Okay. So here's the one. In an interview with Chris Cuomo on Tuesday, Robert Kennedy affirmed his support of former President Donald Trump and implied that Vice President Kamala Harris couldn't put together a proper English sentence. So here's Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel says, "We need a president who can put together an English sentence like this guy," Jimmy Kimmel said on Wednesday before playing several clips of Trump garbling the pronunciation of words. "The only sentence Donald Trump can put together is a prison sentence." Oh, hold on, emissions. That's true. That's the other reason why I'm not trying to lean into the comedy. I don't want you having emissions. I don't want you laughing too much, right? We got to keep the emissions down on this show. We're trying to be a net provider. I'm going to start selling carbon credits because this show is so not funny that I'm definitely not contributing to any carbon emissions. Okay, that's really important to me, right? There's more of these jokes, though. They're really good. They're really good. I'll try and say some of them to you, right? So moving on to news about Lara and Tiffany Trump's X accounts being hacked, Kimmel himself stumbled over the phrase officially sanctioned crypto scams. He laughed at the ironic timing. "Now I'm like him," he says, because he was already talking about not being able to speak English sentence. "You know what? That's karma. That's why I'm not going to be president," Crypto Joe says, right? The punchiest punchlines, nothing but a Z thing edition, right? Guys, this is the next one here, right here. "Guys, election day is just 2 months away, and a new poll shows that only a third of Gen Z voters support former President Trump. That makes sense. Trump thinks Gen Z is the rapper married to Beyonce." Jimmy Fallon had that one. "We can't laugh. No emissions. No emissions." That's right. Only a third of Gen Z supporters support Trump, while the rest plan to vote for, he says, skibbity toilet. I'm not laughing. And here's the best. Okay, this is Stephen Colbert, right? We all know Stephen Colbert is the best, right? "Kamala is also trying to reach young voters. That is so important. I am also reaching out to young people, mostly to ask, how do you do that thing on Uber where you add a stop? See, look at how disciplined I am. Look at how disciplined I am for the global warming efforts. I didn't laugh at all. No emissions there. I know I'm giving out a lot of emissions when I'm talking, so I got to go and I'm going to lash myself at the end of this, and I'm going to punish myself for all the hot air I'm expelling today. But, at least I'm not laughing, right? So luckily they work in a controlled environment and it's sort of political, so they're allowed. It's political protests. It's really great. All right, so now this is great too. This is from The Guardian. I went and looked at some stuff in The Guardian. What's going on in The Guardian, right? We got this. We've had her before. Her name is Zoe Williams. She wrote 2 pieces there. She must be coming off her summer vacation like Phil Bump and the others. So her 2 articles today. Now, she might have been in America for her vacation. I don't know, but that's the first one. Want to know the problem with Tories? Tories are Republicans in England, right? The Tories are called kind of like Republicans. Want to know the problem with Tories? She says, you're weird, right? She says they're weird. And even your own tribe thinks so, right? So she thinks they're weird. Now, I don't know why I think she went on vacation in America. That's a totally natural, original line. It's definitely not any form of coordinated subliminal messaging. There's nothing like that going on. She's just an idiot who read too many American newspapers and then just used the line. So that's great. But she's got another. It's even better. Her next one is even better. She wrote 2 articles, right? Racism, misogyny, lies. How did X become so full of hatred? How? And is it ethical to keep using it? Is it ethical? How many people are laughing on it? That's the only, how many emissions are being produced by X? I don't know the answer to that. So it's hard for me to say. I don't know. I'm going to keep using it for now. Ever since Elon took over Twitter, I and many others, right, have been looking for alternatives. Who wants to share a platform with the likes of Andrew Tate and Tommy Robinson? Who wants to do that? Right? Zoe. And indeed, it's going to get worse because when I go on there, like she's talking about misogyny, racism, like I used to think I didn't see any examples of that. I would like, just give me one example. I remember the time that Elon was in an interview with the BBC guy, and the BBC guy was like, "Oh, people say," and he was, I think he might have been a bit, mentally ill or something, but he's gone. We haven't heard from him ever since. I think he's just erased. So he was trying to talk to Elon, and Elon said, "Give me an example," and he couldn't. Right? He couldn't. Well. I can now. After this, right? Racism, misogyny, lies. You say, what are the examples on Twitter? Here we go, right? They're helping me. The New York Times letting us know the white supremacist origins of exercise, right? And 6 other surprising facts about the history of U.S. physical fitness. So every time I hear RFK out there saying, make America healthy again, talking about fitness, he's obviously right? What about all these other guys doing the bro science stuff? What about all these people trying to lift? I see all these Bitcoiners. They're always jacked and healthy. They're always out there lifting weights and saying, oh, you got to eat steak and lift weights, right? I see that all the time. What's going on? You know what's going on. So whenever someone's like, where's an example of white supremacy on Twitter? Every single weightlifter, every single person who's doing U.S. physical fitness. I like following AJ Cortez, white supremacist. I like following Mike Cernovich, white supremacist, right? Obviously, right? So anyone out there lifting the weights, doing the exercise thing, it's like those fuckers who wake up early. Remember the wake up early people, right? How white supremacist it is to wake up early like that? It's the same. It's the same, guys. We got a major problem here with these people, right? So they're waking up early. They're out exercising, and you're like, when is this going to end? How can we keep this going? It's terrible. It's just the worst, right? So, and again, if it was me doing that interview, if I was the BBC journalist and I had Elon Musk and I was like, people say there's racism stuff, and Elon said, give me an example, I'd say, yo, here's an example. I know people who go to jujitsu. I know people who lift weights every day. Okay. And they share it online. They just share it online. They're like, hey, this is the best exercise, knees over toes guy. I love knees over toes guy. I didn't understand what I was actually getting into. It's like when you fall into a cult and you wake up. I was sitting around doing stretches for my legs. I was sitting around doing all this stuff. And I thought I was just getting healthy. I didn't realize I was participating in white supremacy. But now I know. And I'm going to do much better as I go forward. I'm going to do much, much better as I go forward, right? There you go. So now I also said, we got the people lifting the weights, and we got Kennedy worried about the food, right? We got all that going on. So, and now that we know it's white supremacy, right? There's another side to it too, right? There's more to the story. And luckily, CNN reported through Canada has the actual answer. This is like what Time said. What if last week? What if processed foods are good? Well, they're letting us know here in CNN and the Canadian CTV News that food as fuel, right, might not be the healthiest approach, experts say, right? So if you're out there lifting weights and doing all this stuff, right, you're lifting weights and you're getting in shape and you're like, wow, I'm doing great. I'm fit. I'm good, right? No. And then you're eating healthy. Guess what? It's been a hard day. The worst thing you could do is reach for the chocolate chip cookies that taste like the ones your family always had when you were a kid, right? Not necessarily. You can eat the cookie. Don't worry, right? Here we go. Shouldn't we just remove the emotion from food and think of it as fuel to keep our bodies going? That doesn't always work, guys. It doesn't always work. Yes, food is fuel. Yes, food is fuel. And provides energy for our brains and bodies, but it's also so much more than that. It's so much more. Sometimes when people get too wrapped up in only eating the most nutrient-dense foods, they miss out on a lot of the moments that involve food for pleasure, socialization, and connection. Obviously, right? So, you know what, guys? Don't laugh, okay? Eat food for your emotions. It's good. It's not just fuel. It's for your emotions. You should indulge your emotions with the food, right? And definitely don't exercise, okay? Don't exercise. And if you do all that, you're still going to get your 2-day shipping. People said the American dream is dead. No, it's not dead. 2-day shipping is still going to be there as long as we do all this stuff. All right, I got one last Moscow time entry, and it's a beauty, right? I love it. It's just too good. I didn't even have a place to put it. I just had to include it, right? It's just too good, right? The Guardian, the Zelensky story review. You can feel the humanity radiating. You can feel it from him. You can feel the humanity. Zelensky, look at him. I'm Zelensky. I'm so human. Can you feel the humanity? It's great. It's so great. It's great. I love Zelensky. He's such a sweetheart. He's such a sweetheart. He's, good thing. He used to be a comedian. Remember that? But he was contributing net positive to the emissions because everyone was laughing. So it's better that he's doing this. And he just laughs occasionally now, like in this picture. So it's great, right? It's great. Zelensky, the humanity. The humanity. He's the best. All right. That's our Moscow time for today. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming to Moscow time. All right. So the bridge that I can use for Zelensky is, of course, to talk about this Russian influence. It's all Russia, Russia, Russia again, right? The racist Russians are at it again. And we saw it yesterday. And you could see what's happening right away. So if you didn't see yesterday, there was this thing, Lauren Chen, Tim Pool. So Lauren Chen's in charge of this thing. She got money. She used the money to pay for Rubin, who owns Locals or whatever. I can't remember. Jeremy Rubin, is that his name? Rubin and Lauren Southern and Tim Pool and Benny Johnson. I think those were the people named in it. So what happened was Lauren Chen was given some money. Now, the interesting thing about all this is that there has been suspicion for a while. So Lauren Chen, I would say, well, we'll get into Lauren Chen in a second. I don't know anything about Lauren Chen, to be honest. But from what I gather, and I've done a little auditing here on what she's done in the past few weeks, some things are falling into place and making a little more sense. But here we go. So first of all, they come out, with this thing, breaking Biden administration to hit Russia with sanctions for trying to manipulate U.S. opinion ahead of the election. So it's hiring these influencers. But of course, the Dave Rubin, thank you. Jeremy Rubin is a Bitcoin developer. Yeah, I think so. He was a core dev, I think. So right-wing influencers were duped to work for covert Russian influence operation. This AP article here is the point. You even got Elon Musk commenting on this, that AP is the propaganda network, tying it to Trump. The point is not to tag the influencers. It's to say that Russia is out there trying to help Trump, right? If you didn't see it, Putin was actually live on stage yesterday. I'll come back to a couple of these articles. Putin was live on stage yesterday, and he actually talked about it. Not the influence thing, but he talked about his preference. I'll just read it now. So you've got this whole fake news thing coming out trying to say that Trump is benefiting from Russian influence, right? That's the point. Forget about the talent. It's Trump is benefiting from it. That's the Associated Press article. So here's what he says. This is from Holger Japetz, who's great. He's always doing German market stuff. My father's name was Holger, by the way. So I've always had a soft spot for this fella. So here you go. Russian president says will support Harris in the U.S. election despite being known sympathizer of Donald Trump. Putin said in response to a question at the plenary session of the Eastern Economic Forum in Russia's far eastern city of Vladivostok that President Joe Biden had recommended to voters to support Ms. Harris. We will also support her, he's adding. She laughs so contagiously and expressively that it shows that everything is fine with her. Come on, Putin, stop adding to global emissions. Trump imposed so many restrictions and sanctions on Russia that not a single president before him ever did before. And if Miss Harris is fine, maybe she will abstain from such actions. It's pretty good. So let me go back here. Indeed, we get the New York Times article. Here's Elon saying AP stands for Associated Propaganda. Ashley Sinclair predicted a lot of this. Now, the reason Ashley Sinclair predicted a lot of this is you saw this whole movement of abortion people turning on Trump, right? The extreme abortion people are like, Trump is now a pro-abortion guy and we're not voting for him. There's a lot of people who thought that that was an entire op, that it was a psyop, that it wasn't real, right? That there was something going on, there was some money. If you followed the money, you'd understand where the opposition to Trump and his abortion stuff was coming from, because it's a new thing. And indeed, Ashley St. Clair had kind of figured this out and had an interview with the Triggered podcast a few weeks ago where she explained she didn't know where it was and who it was and did not mention Lauren Chen. But for a lot of people, it's starting to make sense, right? So see how they used Trump as the cover photo for this Russia story to imply influencers were paid to support him. Number one, most weren't Trump supporters. Number two, the influencers are victims, according to the Department of Justice. Three, the ringleader receives orders from the Russians, was actively anti-Trump. And that's the thing. Lauren Chen is one of these abortion extremists, anti-abortion extremists, who said that Trump doing the 6 weeks are too low in Florida, 12 is better, or whatever he said, that she was actually going to not vote for him. She's like, I'm fine if he just wanted to give it to the states. He's going further and all this kind of stuff. So she was heavily behind the fake confusion in the Trump campaign because the abortion evangelicals are leaving him, which was always a small percentage anyway. It was much, much bigger and much greater in the media than it was in reality, but it was happening. So there were a lot of people out there trying to figure out why it was happening and what was going on again about it. And indeed, there's a lot of people who mentioned that again today. So David Sachs picked up on it, right? Chen Tenet was riling up pro-lifers and repeal the 19th fanatics against Trump. So Lauren Chen is also another one of these women shouldn't vote people, right? So people who take these crazy stances and then now I'm not making the 19th Amendment point here, right? But I don't care if people talk about it. It should be talked about at this point because of what we're seeing in politics. It's become boys against girls. It should be noticed. It should be noticed eventually one day that one party, the party that seems to be lying more and running, multi-institutional brainwashing scams, seems to just pick a lot more women as their victims, right? Is it by design? I don't know, but we should audit it one day, right? I don't think that means the 19th Amendment has to be looked at, but I get why she's talking about it. I think everyone gets why she's talking about it. It's hard not to notice that there is one gender that is preponderantly more brainwashed than the other. Now, everyone is brainwashed. I'm not trying to say that the Republicans aren't and the Democrats aren't brainwashed. They totally are, right? Totally, completely are. So don't make this a Republican isn't brainwashed and Democrats are brainwashed. But the brainwashing is different. It's different types. The Democrats tend to get brainwashed all at once in one big sweeping canvas, whereas liberals or conservatives and Republicans have their own sort of stuff, right? CB says, to be honest, I thought Lauren Chen was AI. Too pretty. That's just a filter. That's just filtering. That's just not so pretty in real life. Just a filter. So here he goes, right? So David Sachs again saying, so what you're saying is Putin ran an op to get Harris elected. This actually makes sense. Harris is too scared to take a question on the tarmac. Putin prefers her weakness to Trump's strength. We've also got Robert Barnes saying one of the dumbest parts of the indictment was claiming talking about immigration or inflation is Russian propaganda. Anyone who buys this should check into their nearest mental institution. And indeed, it goes further, right? We've had influence in American politics for a long time. It's not just Russia. I used to worry about foreign influence in U.S. elections, like with TikTok. What I came to understand was Americans don't mind if everyone participates in the brainwashing ops in America. America just happens to be much better at it. So I don't see any influence. As much as I worry about TikTok being an influence on Americans, I can see it long-term with the trans thing. I can see it in a couple areas where maybe that's what's happening, but I don't even know if that's what's happening with the trans thing. I mean, it could be, right? It could be. I definitely am no fan of TikTok's policies in America versus those in China that they use for the young people, 100%. I don't think young people should be on TikTok at all. But the truth is, none of these countries can compete with American psyops. We're so much better at it. It's not even close. It would be like saying, we're going to run the World Cup of American football and any country can come and play against us. We don't really care, right? Why would they stop? Why would the U.S. National Football League try to stop Russia and China from trying to play American football in America. It would be dumb. We would kill them in any event, right? There's no competition. It's just not even a game. So I think that's kind of what's going on in America. It's like, okay, sure, try. Like, good luck. We have these people so orchestrated with Hollywood, with our mainstream media, that you can do your best, but we got them pretty much sewn up, right? It's pretty much sewn up. So it's been going on forever. People have been influencing it. No one really cares, right? So we see it with Qatar. We see it with the Bidens are on Ukraine's payroll and China's payroll. The NBA is owned by China. Steve Kerr, LeBron James, that's why they spend their time hating the U.S. China apparently funds staffs of very high-profile Democrats in the country. We saw that yesterday, right? We saw Max Boot, right? There's a whole bunch of these stories. We saw it yesterday. Max Boot is getting publicized in the Washington Post today. His wife was just arrested for being a foreign influence agent. We get the mayor or the governor of New York. Her assistant, deputy chief of staff, is now just got arrested for Chinese influence. By the way, did you see her yesterday? She goes and does a vaccine ad. Katie Hochul. Katie Hochul. She went and did a video yesterday pushing vaccines. She does it outside of the CVS. Okay, so she's outside the CVS. The camera starts at the CVS, all right, and then it swoops to her on the street, okay? And she says, get your vaccine. But I don't know what happened. She must have had her fake eyelashes actually close one of her eyes, so it never opened during the take. I don't know why they didn't do 2 takes. But she's there. Hochul is there trying to give a talk, a publicity, a talking ad for the vaccines at CVS. But one of her fucking eyes won't open. So she looks like she's having an adverse vaccine reaction. I think it's just the glue of her fake eyelash. But it's kind of perfect. It's kind of perfect. It's really great. You got to go see Kathy Hochul trying to do a reading talking. I guess, I don't know, maybe Taylor Swift isn't doing them anymore. They had to go to Hochul, and the Hochul, what do you got, Hochul? She didn't do a great job. She really didn't. She needs to do 2 takes next time. Get the glue out of your eye. All right, Kathy Hochul. So indeed, those were indeed. Here are the, right, here's the lady, Max Boot, all that stuff. So the foreign influence has been happening for a long time, right? This is not anything new. It's not anything crazy. And indeed, what you got to see is, first of all, there's people who are defending Tim Pool. Indeed, if you follow the money, it looks like Tim, Rubin, Benny, none of them knew. If you look at Milo Yiannopoulos, Milo is saying Lauren Southern, Lauren Chen knew about the money, but that was it. No one else knew about the money. Or no, he said Dave Rubin didn't know. But we'll see. I mean, I don't really care about that stuff. Jack Pozo standing up for the other people as well. Tim Cass, they're getting paid hundreds of thousands of US trash tokens a month to do this too. So it wasn't a little bit of money. And here we have Merrick Garland yesterday. So while they talked about the Russian influence, they also threatened people. Breaking Attorney General Merrick Garland details the Justice Department's election threats task force. The task force is marshaling the full resources of the Justice Department to aggressively investigate and prosecute threats targeting election workers, officials, and volunteers. Charlie Kirk says the regime is ramping up its FIRA campaign ahead of November. And indeed, I think Americans have been adequately trained. I doubt you're going to see a huge pop-off and gunfire and everything if the election is stolen again, just because these threats have been going on for so long. But seeing Merrick Garland do this is, again, proof, I think, that we're getting somewhere, right? Now, I made a mistake here. Let me just... one of these was improperly aligned. Again, I don't know how I'm getting these improper aligned ones. No, what did I just do? What did I there? Whoops. Delete. No, that was yesterday's. My goodness. What the F did I just do? There we Oh my God, sync this one, keep one, back to play. Sorry about this. Yeah, again, I mean, I'm not gonna. And Dave Rubin was 100%. Yeah, DeSantis was a credible candidate. I think it's entirely. If Trump didn't have DeSantis, he wouldn't have the same credibility he has today. Trump had to be primaried for real. Look at the advantage that Trump has having been primaried versus Kamala and these people. It's a huge advantage. It gives him a lot of legitimacy that there were real people that ran against him. Now, as much as I love Vivek, he's super talented, but he was never going to actually, he has not enough experience, let's say. But being a governor of a state like DeSantis means that there was a credible alternative to Trump. And just allowing people to look at a credible alternative for once and then turning back to Trump was all he needed. It would have been a no good look had he just run through the primaries and not been challenged. He needed to be challenged, right? It was the number one thing. And honestly, I always will be appreciative of DeSantis for doing that. I thought he did a great job. He presented a credible alternative. He wasn't going to be as crazy, right? He was going to be the cover band, and we needed to see if the cover band would work. It wouldn't work. We all saw it. It wasn't going to work. It's not going to work. So go back to the real thing. Go back to the real thing. So there you go. Indeed, a lot of people saying to me, it looks like Dems are setting the stage to justify not certifying the election if Trump wins. The deep state recognized that Kamala is not gaining any traction. They know she cannot win a fair election, and their fraud might not be enough to save her. Swapping Kamala out for a new candidate would be disastrous for the Dems at this point and would be too big of a defeat to overcome after going all in on her. So it appears their plan is to plant the idea that Russia, China, Iran are all influencing the election and therefore can justify not certifying the election and not handing power over to Trump. They have the internal polling numbers. They know Kamala will lose, and they don't have any confidence in her to make an impact in the debate. So they are preemptively going to the next contingency in the plan. They do not intend to partake in the peaceful transition of power. That's a pretty good explanation, right? That's a pretty good explanation of what's going on. I think that's pretty accurate. Oh yeah, here's the FBI. Knock it off. No, it's like your dad comes down and you're playing video games too loud. Hey, knock it off. Hey, get these away. What's going on with these elections? You gotta get them elections cleaned up, right? Knock it off. There you go. And indeed, here's the it's a system we're up against. And here's the system, right? So again, the system is not Kamala. It's the machine that will deny elections, that will astroturf whatever is needed. You get Insurrection Barbie here talking about it. Kamala Harris is the first candidate, was entirely created by the media. No accomplishments, no votes in a presidential primary, no policies, no ideas. She was never popular. She never polled well. She was the reason Biden refused to step down earlier in the race. She has been created entirely by the media. She's the biggest social psyop experiment conducted on the American people in history. And that's why you can see things like the return of Brian Stelter's back, everyone. Brian's back. He says he's a different person. He's back and he's a different person. He was sitting on his couch for 2 years, and sitting on his couch made me a better person. I'm a new man, right? All my experience that I got from being fired from my last job, which is the same as my new job, made me a better person. I'm the exact same thing, right? And George Gammon puts it perfectly, right? George Gammon talks about the system. I do shows every day. What's the system? Whiteboards, this and that, right? And George Gammon says, here's a simple rule. Whatever sin the central planners and authoritarians accuse others of is the sin they themselves are most guilty. Oh, dang, no, that's not the one. That's not the one I wanted. Shit. He had two. George Gammon had two. He had another one. I took the wrong picture. Basically, how this guy was chosen, right? Anyone who's willing to say anything, even though it's a lie, is why they get the job. So George had two little ones about this. I chose the wrong one by accident. It's a good rule, right? He's talking about projection. I talk about that all the time. But the one I thought I had was him saying, if you want to know why he's back, it's because the prerequisite for having this job is you have to be willing to say anything that's a lie and not flinch when you're telling a lie, right? So indeed, that's what's going on. That's what's going on. And finally, Scott Adams had a really excellent breakdown of what's going on with the elections. I wouldn't worry about the 2024 election being rigged unless you see any of these three things happen, he says. Any of these things happen. Voting machines instead of paper ballots, no ID required, mail-in voting, RFK Jr. on the ballot against his will, impossible to audit elections by design, control of the media, J6 prosecutors to chill dissent, demonize Trump as Hitler. But if anything on this list ever happens, I'd be very worried. And indeed, this is where Bitcoiners are going to absolutely shine, right? Because just look at what is going on with the countries with no voter ID, with voter ID, and why Americans aren't. We're seeing it in Texas. We saw it with, I was supposed to have a Brett Weinstein article here somewhere where Brett Weinstein was talking about the point of exit polls to help catch cheating. That doesn't happen anymore because of mail-in voting. So none of it makes sense. All right, team. I don't have a ton of time today. Let's see. So many good vibes, though. Proof of fake. Yeah. Kamalala is proof of stake. I like it. Proof of work, proof of stake. Yeah. Yeah, great explanation, my dude. Yeah. I'm appreciative of Ron DeSantis. There's no reason to ever not like Ron DeSantis. You know what I mean? I get he's short or something. He's boring. He's not as fun as Trump, but he's a credible, great. He seems like a great guy. Honestly, seems like a great guy. I could be wrong. But there you go. Exactly. I got to stop watching it. My laughter is killing Mother Earth. I love rules. I told you. Forget about laughing. I'm going to hyperventilate. Yeah. Goldman Sachs is basically the financial arm of the U.S. Treasury. Yeah, it could be. My loan payment will be used to buy more Bitcoin. There you go. Got to give the win to a Goldman Sachs. They're giving us the business, all right. Yeah, no, they're great. Come on, guys. What are you talking about? You don't believe Goldman Sachs did this for you? What? Tommy, my house was 85 degrees inside for much of the summer on hot days. The AC can't keep up. I need curtains. Get the curtains. It's all about the curtains. Shipping mail is racist. I will not elaborate. There you go. There you go. All right, team. I got to make a call. Peace. Have a great day, everyone. See you tomorrow.